Tell us your favorite color.
Red.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Nasi lemak.
Are you a coffee or tea person?
A coffee. All the way.
Sweet or savory snacks?
Savory.
Do you prefer beach or the mountains?
The mountains.
Would you rather have the ability to fly or be invisible?
Fly. And I paraglide anyway, so
Oh.
I love flying.
What's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Fight MMA, go paragliding, and date a Frenchman.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
No problem.
Welcome to Powerhouse of Joyce Yung. We're doing International Women's Day series, and joining us today is Tricia Yap, founder of Limitless. How about you tell us about Limitless?
Well, Limitless is basically a personalized training concept for busy professionals. So we work a lot with men and women who have busy lifestyles, of course, who are based in Hong Kong. And it's quite a unique concept because what we are trying to do is to really take another look at what is holistic. So in the past, a lot of fitness concepts have the most holistic they would go is looking at nutrition or, marrying that with some fitness advice, etc. But what we've really gone into what we call deep health. So when clients on board with us, we want to know not just the biomechanics or their body composition or their lifestyle challenges or even what they eat, but we are actually trying to understand what their biochemistry is, i.e. what their hormonal status is, etc. So it's a concept where you can come in and you can basically do what most personal training concepts do, which is you come in, do some assessments like movement and body comp and train. But if you really wanted to, you could actually look into things like your gut health. So we can run functional lab testing. So we can do stool testing as well. We can look in at heavy metals, for example. So it really depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you go. We leverage a lot of current fitness tech. So for example, when people say, oh, I'm trying to manage my blood sugar. So when you look at dietary advice, all of it comes back to managing blood sugar at one point or the other. But truly, where is your blood sugar right now at this instant? There is tech called continuous glucose monitoring that we do use with our clients to actually track and see what on the high level, where their blood sugar levels are on a day-to-day basis and hour by hour in real time.
Wow, that's amazing. How did you come up with this concept?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have actually been in the fitness industry for maybe coming to 2 decades now, actually.
Wow.
So I think I've seen a lot of it. I think also in terms of my own professional development, I've really been very curious. I've always wanted to know what's next or what's new, or really answering a lot of the questions that I find myself asking because I can't help a client, for example. So if someone comes in, they say, well, how do I know what my blood sugar levels are at? Sometimes you're like, well, yeah, you can, in the old days, you would have to do a pinpoint prick, which if you can imagine trying to take different points through the day, there are only so many fingers you once saw, right? Things like at one stage, ketogenic diets were very popular. How do you actually know where you're at with ketosis? The landscape has changed because tech has evolved. So just being on top of all of that, CGM, continuous glucose monitoring, is starting to get very popular today in 2025, but it's something that I've actually been doing since 2017. So these are the things that I've actually gone to learn. So I spend about 2 or 3 weeks every year outside of Hong Kong learning from some of the experts, etc., that I admire and I really want to understand more about. So I would say that's kind of where I get it from. I've just stayed curious, basically.
But how did you originally get it? Was it more personally you want to, you were getting into fitness and then just finding?
Well, I started off, so as you know, I started off with Bikini Fit, which is mainly like a boot camp with education, and it's catered towards women. And, we started that because for me, being female, being in a gym environment was just super intimidating. I mean, many women get into the gym for the first time and a lot of them go, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm pretending to know what I'm doing. And then you're kind of looking up workouts on YouTube. And so the whole idea was, well, what if there was a community that was really supportive towards females and getting them to lift? Because if you think back to 2011, if you think back all the way through to 2011, the number of women lifting in the gym was very little. Today, that number has definitely changed. So I started off in the boot camp side of things. And when I left, it was more because I wanted to, there were a lot of things that a boot camp can't solve. Structural issues, biomechanical issues, even nutrition. So I actually went back and retrained and I kept retraining. So I have like a ton of qualifications.
That's great.
Don't know what I'm doing with it all. But I think with every question, I've always wanted to solve it or find some form of solution. So over the years, it's, went from boot camp to like one of the Hong Kong's like boutique lifestyle gyms where we kind of took strength and conditioning, martial arts, and even an in-house kitchen. We put it together. That then became Goji Studios, which was the commercial gym concept of that. And then after Goji Studios, I kind of said to myself, like, look, I've gone full circle. Where do I want to be? And I felt that I needed to be still in front of people. There was a specific group of people that I love working with, and that's busy professionals. And I thought, when you're busy and you don't have time to make all these decisions, because at the end of the day, the very crux of it is that there's a lot of behavior change involved. Right. So when you start a new fitness regime, there are so many new decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day basis. So what if there were things out there that we could do to alleviate those decision-making processes from a tech side, but also what if there was from a clinical side, what if we could figure out what was truly wrong with a person, right? What is actually happening? What's the root cause of why they are feeling the way they are today and how they are? And so I wanted to take, an interviewing approach, a assessment approach, and a clinical approach to it. And that's how I thought, okay, that's how Limitless is going to be.
Wow.
So it's not a simple concept. It's been quite a journey. We've done a few iterations of what we do. And I feel that today we're very strong at that now. It's taken about 6 years. Oh my God, it's been 6 years. 6 years to get to where we are today.
Right, for sure. Well, and during that time, it's COVID as well, right? So maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges. I'm sure there's plenty. Some of the challenges and how you guys evolve and pivot, as you said.
Well, Limitless was born or birth, I would say, around November or December 2019. So as you all know, COVID came January 2020 and it really quite sudden. I think the biggest challenge then was just around, we are a gym, we are also a nutritional clinic, but we can only operate as more of a nutritional clinic than a gym because as you know, all the fitness centers were closed during COVID. And I think it was a total of something like 16 or 18 months out of the 3 years that Hong Kong was in
completely
COVID.
Closed,
So the first thing that I had to do from a business perspective was, and I still remember this very clearly, I ran my P&L at zero. Right. And when I looked at it, we were going to last 6 months at zero. So that meant when we launched, well, we had to figure something out. So what I then did was I thought, you know what, since everyone's getting online, there were a ton of free fitness classes, there were free fitness challenges. It was just really hard to operate in an atmosphere where everything was being given to people. So people had a lot of choice. And also, they didn't see that online interaction as high value as an in-person interaction. So I thought, well, I love educating people. I love teaching people. So why don't we come up with a program that actually helps people understand a little bit more about the health and what's going on. So that was where the Metabolic Reset was born. And it's actually part and parcel of what we do today. In fact, it was a 6-week online sort of workshop-based course. You can also add on one-to-one consultations and also one-to-one in-person or online training. I would say that in those days, that really helped us kind of keep afloat. So I'd say that was one of the biggest challenges. I think the second biggest challenge was really around how do we get people to understand what we're about? I say that's why I kind of opened with, we are that concept for busy professionals. We try to make it easier for people, whether it's we're working with your PA, to do simple things like put a glass of water on your table in front of you. Or we're even going, to some people's homes and we're kind of going, okay, you know what? We're going to do a kitchen audit today. We're going to actually talk about your environment because your environment is so important to that success, right? You have to create or curate your environment for success, just as most people will do it with their career by networking, by being with the right people, by being in the right company at the right time. So why can't we do it for health? And, to be honest with you, also a lot of people that we work with, they have multiple hats, right? They're not just a boss or manager of their organization. They're someone's daughter or son, but they're also someone's mother or father. A lot of times when you have kids in the picture, you're then, particularly I think with parents, you are a caregiver. Right. And whether that caregiving is to your, to your elders or to your younger ones, oftentimes you're the last person to look after yourself. Right. That's where we kind of come in because most of our coaches on our coaching team, our number one priority is actually to, look after our clients in that way. Right. So part and parcel is, how do we then, from a business perspective, is how do I cultivate that in the team?
And to come up with that idea, do you then work with the team, and a lot of it's based on personal experience and needs as well? Like it sounds like I think because you have a daughter.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of it, right? I mean, when I was in my 20s and my 30s, right, I had all the time in the world for myself. Yeah. Right. If I wanted to do something, I could just go out and do it. If I needed to train, there were many hours in a day where I can. Today, morning is about putting someone on the school bus, helping with breakfast, saying goodbye, blah, 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 getting into work somehow. The notion of meal prepping is difficult. I've learned how to delegate that or outsource it. So there is a lot of personal experience in that. Yeah. But then I think there's also about, understand what works and what doesn't. So we are a small company. And I would say from a business standpoint, that means we're very agile, right? We can change things once in corporate fitness, and you're having to, when you launch something, you want to do something, you have to get compliance to check it. You have to legal. You got to go through marketing. You have about 5 different departments before you can actually put out some form of decision, right? Here, if something's not working, we change it immediately. And I think there is that advantage as well. And then the third thing that is very difficult is finding the right people. Finding people who have that maturity on top of a love for learning, and then someone who is able to put themselves in a client's shoes. And I've not even talked about the technical stuff or the theory or knowledge. In my opinion, and we actually have done, and one of the things that I took away actually from a previous life in management consulting is I actually hire a lot of coaches that don't come from the fitness world because I can teach them. I can teach them that knowledge. Knowledge is, it's something that can be taught, but I can't teach personality, and I definitely can't teach character. Right. And if someone has the right ingredients, I can just give that knowledge. And that's one of the things I'm not afraid about is to share knowledge, because if you don't know how to apply it, you don't know how to make it relevant, and then it's actually quite useless. Yeah,
no, so true. I mean, it's all about the attitude as well, right? Whether they're willing to work towards something. It doesn't matter if someone knows more, like person A knows more than B, if they're not willing to work improve, it doesn't help.
I would love to be the dumbest person in my company. I really would love to, because that shows that, they don't need me anymore, which is fantastic.
Like, I'll go to the beach and keep it running.
And I love learning too. So, and this is the thing, and that's why I love my team, is because we actually learn from each other, right? Once again, it's not even about a study or a theory or a way of doing something. It could be learning from our clients, learning from someone's experience with a client and how they've reflected back and said, you know what, if I could do this all over again, maybe I would have done this in a different way. And I'd be like, yeah, you have a really good point there. Yeah, so I think finding the right person has been really hard. We actually don't advertise. I've actually had people fall into, sort of like fall in. And those have been the best people. Right. I remember doing a lot of hiring interviews and just feeling,
very standard.
Fatigued out of it, right? And this might be unpopular to say, but there's a lot of entitlement, right? I've had very junior coaches in front of me say, oh, do I get an education allowance? Do I get entertainment allowance? Like, do I get this? And it's like, well, sorry, but this is a place where we kind of give and take as well. Right. I don't know whether
it's not corporate per se.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But then maybe I come from the generation where we were like told to not talk.
That's true too. Don't ask. It's quite different nowadays, right?
Exactly. It's like, don't ask because you know what the answer will be.
Right. Wow, no, that's amazing. I mean, there's so much to learn, like just being an entrepreneur, right? What was the hardest part? I mean, I know you mentioned a few. Is there like one thing that you feel was so hard when you set up, especially you're doing something very different in the fitness field? Do you feel there's pushback from other areas or?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what I find difficult is when you really want to help somebody, maybe they don't want to be helped. Right, because it's all about stages of change. And I think from a coaching perspective, I think that's where I have that difficulty, because it's almost as if it's like, I know I can help this person, but they just don't want to be helped. From a business perspective, the hardest thing is COVID was a big one. I think it really tested my resilience, and resilience not just as a entrepreneur, but also as a little bit of an accountant. So for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a qualified chartered accountant.
I know you were in consulting before, but I didn't know.
Yeah, and I would say it really tested my understanding of, or lack of understanding of finances and cash flow. So that was really hard. From a business perspective, I'd say the other one is finding the right business partners and really being able to work with people to have a high performing team. That is really, really difficult because you have to balance everyone's wants and needs and strengths and stretches, as we call it, against the, profitability or not profitability. And there's a lot to make decisions on. And that's something I would say I continually struggle with today. I think also when it comes to entrepreneurship, and you guys are entrepreneurs, so you probably understand this as well. Yeah. It's always it's a constant juggling act.
Yeah.
And there's not enough time to make the right decision. Yeah. So you're just always hoping that this is the right decision for now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's the keyword, for now.
For now, exactly. But we can change that later.
Yes. Or when it's the right condition, right? When that is,
and oftentimes, someone said this to me once, is that when you're an entrepreneur, you're walking on the road that no one else has walked on. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of this, right? And a little bit also of luck and being in the right place at the right time. Right. But you wouldn't be where you are if you were walking on the road that others have walked on. Right. So it's...
It's that balance.
It's an opportunity cost type of thing. And would I have it any other way? I don't think I would. Some days I want to. Some days I was like, the stability. I would love the stability. I always make a joke to my partner. It's like, I resigned. And he's like, yeah, but I have to hire myself back in the morning.
Yes, just resign for the night.
Exactly.
Regroup and then have new ideas in the morning. No, that's so true. Because there's moments, of course, right? But then at the end of the day, it's just, that's what excited us in the first place, to do your own thing, have new ideas. And you say you have a nimble, a small but nimble team. So you can just do things, and move with it, versus a corporation. It's so much harder. You see things you want to do, but you can't.
And to not have that fear of, and that's one of the things I think sport has taught me, is to discard away the fear of failure. You could make some catastrophic decisions, but I would like to think that I'm careful enough to not make that type of catastrophic decisions, but be nimble and agile enough to pull back when I know we're going down a wrong path, and to really be humble to admit, oh my God, I completely screwed up there, right? And now we've got to change really quickly. So part and parcel, I think, is being able to admit that you made a mistake is a big one. Yeah. Right. And knowing when to stop. Right. Sometimes that's you just keep going and you hope and you hope and you hope.
That's a hard one. Yeah. It's like, and then maybe tweak a little.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm that much of a gambler to be able to do that.
That's good. So you know when to stop.
Accountant mindset.
Yes. Well, it's good. It's good balance, right? You need that in business, right? That creative, but also,
exactly.
the reality of things, right?
Yeah. And then it's also about learning. So much learning. I mean, whether it's marketing and social media algorithms that change every other day, to what's new and what's on trend and what's not a trend but seems to be a trend.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. You don't want to put out something that's, it was a fad, not really a trend. And how do you navigate that? Like, are there specific publications that's relating to fitness, or you just read up every day?
A lot of it, I think, is common sense. Oh, this is going to sound so bad. But at the end of the day, we have actually forgotten as humanity, maybe, or people who live in cities, right? We've forgotten how to eat real food. We've forgotten how to move and the importance of movement, right? And we've forgotten how to pause and take a break that is actually restorative. Right. So I always think about some of the clients that come in and they go, I had an active recovery day. And I was like, active recovery? I was like, is it? And I was like, was it restorative, both for your body and mind? And they're like, you have a good point. I was like, yes, running 21 kilometers out in the trails in the sun. Yes, you're taking your vitamin D, you're taking your movement, taking your outdoor, but was it restorative?
Yes. Yeah, that's a tough one for city life.
Exactly. And we're just kind of here from a very simplistic standpoint. We're just kind of here to help people get that back again. And if you take away all the clinical testing, the questionnaires, at the crux of it is, why have we forgotten it? And how can we remind ourselves to do more of that without quitting your job and your life and your family?
Yeah, for sure. If there's one more advice for listeners, what would it be?
Invest some time in yourself. And what I've been doing and how I've been doing that is, I know that at certain times in the year, and albeit could be twice a year, invest a time in yourself to step away from everything. Turn off your phone, put down the laptop, get a notepad out. Remarkables are great if you're not a pen and paper person. Just do a stock take of who you are, where you are, what you're doing. Then look towards the future and go, who do I want to be? How do I want to get there? And what does the future look like? And then in the third part of the day, brainstorm on how you can get there. I find that as an entrepreneur and a busy person, I don't do that nearly enough. I've started doing it, and I think it's given me a lot more clarity in terms of what my priorities are and the type of person I want to be. Because I think, once again, if you don't know who you are, you won't know how to get to where you want to be, truly.
Right. So true. Yeah. Great advice. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.